Administration and Legal Committee at 6:35. Number 2, I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of the minutes of Administration and Legal Committee held on October 8, 2019.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 3, receive vehicle sticker program update. Hannah, do you want to take that?
Sure, thanks, trustee Glatz. There's a PowerPoint that goes with it.
Yeah, hold on, sorry, 1 second.
You're fine. Well, this is a bit of a lengthier memo, so I'll try to get through it pretty quickly, but just generally speaking, this is an update on our current vehicle sticker program. Currently the program as it exists, residents and businesses are required to display a vehicle sticker on each of their registered or housed vehicles at all times, and it's an annual renewal. Our IT department, clerks, and finance department all spend considerable amounts of time on this, estimated to be about $75,000. The revenue we receive from this program is usually, we'll get into that, but the revenue for this goes towards our pavement improvement program. So with that being said, looking at the current revenue from this program and a few other factors, there are some challenges when it comes to vehicle stickers. The cost to administer stickers for seniors, for example, it's $150 for the discounted senior citizen rate, but the cost of the transaction and staff time exceeds that. It's probably more about $7. And as our generation, we have more seniors as the generation gets older, so that's a factor contributing to these fewer sales and decline in revenue. And just generally speaking too, again, as mentioned, it's a considerable amount of staff time, difficult to enforce, and it's not uncommon for other municipalities to have moved away from this program. So with that being said, there are just a few options to consider in regards to vehicle stickers if there was a decision to start discussions on how to implement a new revenue source to replace the revenue that is currently raised by this program. Option 1, you can leave it alone, you can leave it as is and maintain the status quo. Option 2, you can outsource most of the functions. It would cost about $35,000 roughly to do so. Third Millennium is one of the only consultants that oversee a function like this, and they would access the Secretary of State's vehicle listing to notify those registered to Tinley Park of the annual sticker requirement. This cost includes the software, implementation, annual maintenance, mailings, Secretary of State data management, and online payment hosting. With this option, the clerks and finance department would still handle much of the processing, but a lot of time would be saved on IT's end. Third option would be to implement a new revenue source. Different options could look like local motor fuel tax. This tax would apply to all volatile and inflammable liquids produced, blended, or compounded for the purposes of operating motor vehicles. This could be a good option when shifting the tax burden from residents to those driving through our major corridors. Another option could be to change to a wheel tax. This is a newer Cook County model. Definitely more analysis would be needed to see what the costs of implementing a program like that would be. Water use and consumption tax. This would be quarterly fee and then a charge per, say, 1,000 gallons of water consumption. Another option could be utility taxes. Common utility taxes would be imposed on electricity, natural gas, and telecommunications. And then there's also the food and beverage tax. I'd like to note with the last two, our treasurer, he can speak more to it, but those are typically, those are our least recommended options, as those are typically saved for reserve when we need those taxes to cover other revenue sources from our general fund. So with that being said, if there's any questions or discussion, if this is a program we want to continue to look at further right now, if there's a direction on a specific source or if we want to leave it as is. Looking for any direction on this program.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you, Anna.
Brad, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I would note, as Hannah mentioned, the utility taxes and the food and beverage tax has historically been held in reserve in our finance policies because we recognize that at some point in time, we are going to need those probably to support our general operations. And I would be hesitant to recommend moving forward to apply that towards replacing the revenue that is now dedicated to the pavement management program. The first three options would be better suited to replace the revenue stream and keep it dedicated to the pavement management.
Is there anything from out of A, B, or C that you would recommend more than another as far as implementing for staff and?
Well, obviously, the motor fuel tax obviously has the greatest parity to how we have earmarked the revenues. It's tied directly to the use of the roads. So there's the greatest parity with the motor fuel tax. We'd have to do some further analysis to determine the extent of the revenue that would produce. The wheel tax, again, that's the model that Cook County has recently switched to, about 2 years ago, switched to the wheel tax instead of vehicle stickers. That saves a lot of the administrative cost and the physical cost of the sticker itself. Is you issue it based on the vehicle registration, and the way that Cook County is administering the program. If you don't pay the fee by the stated date, you are considered in violation, which we could then run through our administrative court to collect. So I think it would address some of the enforcement problems that we have had with the vehicle stickers currently. And then the third choice, the water use and consumption tax, is a scenario that Oak Lawn has implemented a couple of years ago to replace their vehicle stickers. And they're quite pleased. They're quite happy with the way that has operated. So any of those three would be far preferable to the latter two.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brad. Bill, anything you want to add?
No, I'm not a big fan of the food and beverage tax. I know this is a big burden on the clerk's office, so I know this is, but I'm also not, a fan of outsourcing it at a cost to us to offset that. So I think it's, quite honestly, I'd like to see, this might be something for committee of the whole, for everyone to weigh in on. Not sure your thoughts on that, but me personally, I'd look at options A or C would be my opinion.
Okay. Yeah.
If we were to continue the vehicle sticker program more or less in its current form, I would point out that while I recognize it's somewhat of a sensitive issue, the pricing of the senior discount should be addressed. We shouldn't be selling them at less than what it costs us to issue them. It's counterproductive.
Right.
Okay. How do you feel about Bill just maybe asking Brad and Hannah and the rest of them just, I like A or B. Let me just.
I think the only issue with A, like what Brad said, how do you still give the seniors their discount as far as, they're gonna be paying it some sort. They may be paying it.
If you move to the motor fuel tax, the senior discount issue goes away.
Right, but then they're still paying it in some sort or another. They're paying it in a different form. And there's, so.
Or we could just leave it as is for now and address it again later. I'm fine with that if you want.
It's up to you.
Yeah, and I would just add we wouldn't make any immediate changes. This would be, we would but for 2021 is when we would look to implement it, so that way there's time to further analyze the options and whatnot. So it's not an immediate change, but just, you need to
Right.
start looking at our options.
Okay, well, we just leave it as is for now and let them kind of play around with it.
Yeah, what, do we have I mean, what's the timeline look like for this, as far as when decisions need to be made?
We are tight to the time schedule right now. If we were to make a change now for 2020, we're at the apex right now.
Okay.
So that's where it's suggested that we don't make a change until 2021.
Well, no, I'm sorry, that's what I mean. For 2021, when do we need to make a decision for that?
We would need to make a decision ideally
I would say,
October,
yeah, the latest.
probably.
Oh,
So
okay.
why don't we address this in August?
Yeah,
next
get
year.
ahead of it for 21.
Yeah, so why don't you,
And as you noted, we'll do some more research and pull some more things. together.
Okay, yeah, that'd be good.
Cool. Thanks, Brad,
I
thanks,
mean,
Hannah.
I've got a good database of motor fuel taxes that are imposed, local taxes that are imposed throughout the state. However, I do need to refresh that. And then I also would need to, I want to refresh the data as to what kind of revenues those taxes produce.
Sure.
The only thing I would add is I would caution about hold on, 3A, about the motor fuel tax. Is that gonna put our businesses at a disadvantage to the ones that are across the border?
We have looked at this at a number of occasions over time, and we have found that it really does not, it doesn't end up reflecting in the price at the pump.
Mhm.
All right, why don't we just look at it and address it back in August? Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks,
Sounds good.
Brad.
Okay.
Thank you.
Number 4, Lenny's Gas and Wash. Dominic, you wanna take that one?
Sure. Thanks, Trustee Glatz. So, very briefly, the requester is Lenny's Food and Fuel Harlem Avenue LLC. Sent a petition to the mayor as liquor commissioner for a UV license, a class UV license, or a truck stop license. And if in the memo gives a description, it's a licensed truck stop establishment as defined by the IVGA. Has to follow all rules and regs there, as well as the rules and regs of the ordinance of Chapter 112, which is the liquor code in our Village of Tinley Park ordinances. So the requester provided a sales tax revenue breakdown, estimated breakdown, as well as floor plans and pictures of the beer cooler, 8-foot walls, and other requisite details for the request. So the mayor has passed on to this committee for review and discussion. Thanks.
Thanks, Dom.
Yep.
Appreciate it. I don't know who I would ask, Lyman or Lenny? I just had, I'm sorry? I just had a quick question. I know you mentioned it, Dominic, in here, so it says, so it'll be part of the agreement like we put in our new ordinance, so you'll have an 8-foot high wall?
Scott Pritchard with the Arsa Architects representing Gas and Wash. Yes, we have an 8-foot wall.
Okay, and you will have the saloon entry doors?
That was a question, that's what we're intending right now. We want to make sure they meet the ADA requirement.
Okay,
Yeah, in the memo, he's got 8-foot high construction walls consisting of a knee wall with frosted glass.
yeah, so it just has to be 8 foot, whether it's, like if they want to do like some of the businesses, they'll do a half knee wall and then glass.
Mm-hmm.
It was never specific at whether it had to be a glass or wall, so is that what you're doing? You're gonna do the knee wall and then a glass or something, or no?
We'd prefer to do that, yes. That allows visual control from our employees into that area so that they could keep an eye on what's happening, make sure there's no one in there that's not supposed to be in there.
Yeah, there's one that I would suggest you go look at. It's at, what is that, 82nd Avenue and 143rd, I think it is. There's a bar over there in the corner. They have frosted glass with a knee wall in it. It actually looks nice.
Yeah.
That's what I would suggest you,
We normally provide that, yes. That's our normal way of doing it.
okay.
Very good.
Anything else? Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll
Move to the
second it.
board.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Number 5, GIS renewal contract. Who's going to take that one?
Yeah, what we have is the annual renewal for the GIS contract, also with the statement of work, so this is something that we do every year. Again, it's just another formality of renewing. This is a budgeted item that we have already, so it's just executing the annual agreement for that.
Great, thanks. Pat, any questions? Bill?
No comments?
No? I'll make a motion to move it to the board. Have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Number 6, discuss honorary road sign request. Major Roberts, would you mind taking that for us, please?
Good evening. Mr. Roger Calling ended up being childhood friends with 2 Marines that lost their lives during Vietnam. And he had it on his bucket list to honor them. And he presented his case to the mayor, and the mayor suggested that he bring it to my commission. So the Veterans Commission met on November 13th, and we unanimously supported Mr. Calling. I met with Dominic, and we've had discussion, and we know that we'd like to honor these 2 Marines who lost their lives. They were both decorated with Purple Hearts, and they received the Silver and Bronze Star, respectively, for valor. And what we'd like to do is go ahead, and I think you should have a packet that has the information involved with the 2 gentlemen, and also a descriptor, an image of the plaque itself, which Mr. Calling had created. So our goal, right after that, there's an example of the way the honorary street signs that appear across our nation to honor fallen soldiers are there. We've identified an area at 94th Court and 175th is where the signs currently exist for there. And in order to honor them, you'd have a sign created with their name and placed above each of those street signs. They both grew up in the same neighborhood, and it would be appropriate to go ahead and honor them by identifying those roads. Now, in addition to that, the plaque itself, I understand, can't be mounted on the same pole because there are issues with regard to the pole existing in Tinley's property or in unincorporated Cook County. So that brings up a few potential issues about being able to erect the sign and keep it there and who would maintain it and all that kind of good stuff. So that's why we were bringing that to your attention, and we're looking for some suggestions on potential resolution to the problem. I have 2 other, a Plan A and a Plan B that I discussed with Dominic. Plan A was we already have a Pat Ray Veterans Plaza on the south of 80th Avenue train station, and that might be an appropriate area to put the plaque. If that doesn't work, there's another area where there's a Gold Star Memorial at the head of Veterans Parkway, which would be appropriate for a KIA issue. However, that brings up another problem when we start talking about honoring Vietnam veterans who lost their lives during the conflict, because there are 4 others. We have a total of 6 in the village. And if we honor just 2 of them, then I'm sure the other 4 would need to be recognized as well. We have a M84 mortar carrier that's coming in and being displayed along Veterans Parkway, and we've already got the concrete pad poured for that. There will be signage involved with that and a stand erected so that we can have a plaque that's describing the mortar carrier. But the mortar carrier was used during the Libyan conflict and also Vietnam. So that might be an appropriate area where we could put a plaque honoring those gentlemen. So we have a couple plans available, but I need guidance on who would go ahead and make sure that the signage is correct on the street signs and where the potential placement of the plaque would be.
I would suggest that would go through John Urbanski and Kevin Workowski. They could work with you on that.
Alrighty.
We'd be happy to help you with that.
So the package has pretty much all the descriptors and some of the information about the gentleman that you might like to review. But that's what I had to bring up to you tonight.
That's great. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Then,
Thank you, Major Roberts.
John, do you have Major Roberts' number?
And just so you know, Kimberly's also been working on this with planning, so we're looking into the road issue and the sign issue, and where we can place these, so it's being worked by Kimberly also.
Great. Thanks,
Very,
Pat.
very good.
And yeah, the only other thing I would add that was a great explanation. Thank you to you both. I talked to Mr. Colling today. He's the original requester. He's recovering from a kind of a lengthy winter illness and could not be here medically, but wanted to let him know that he's more than when he recovers to come to any potential future meetings that he would need to be at to speak to the issue, and that for the honorary street signs, the only other thing, I'm not sure if it explicitly lays it out here, but they're looking at 175th and 94th because Novak and McAllister both grew up, I think, on either side of that street before it was formerly a neighborhood. There was a farm there, and they grew up right there. So that's the reason for that specific intersection, looking at it.
Great. Thanks,
Thanks,
Tom.
Trustee.
Thanks, Don.
Anything you care to add, Brooke?
No, that's awesome. I appreciate all your hard work on that, and it's important that we honor these two fellows. Thank you for their service and their sacrifice.
Well, I think it'd be our honor to make a motion to move this to the board.
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Major Roberts. Thank you, Noel. Number 7, public comment. Anyone care to address the Admin and Legal Committee? Let the record reflect, there are none. So I'll make a motion to adjourn at 6:57.
Very
Have a
good.
second?
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. So,
You want to go next? You want me to go next?
yeah, I got it up. I'd like to open the Public Works Committee at 6:58. Thanks, Dominic. Thanks, Hannah. Number 2, I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of the minutes of Public Works Committee held on November 12, 2019.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 3, discuss purchase of skid steer and backhoe. So basically, this is just to approve purchase of a backhoe and skid steer to replace the current equipment that's been its life expectancy. The backhoe is over budget by $126.19. The skid steer / Bobcat is $9,064.35 under budget. So they're looking for direction to approve the Public Works equipment purchase of the backhoe and skid steer in the amount of $164,671.84. You have any questions, Bill?
No.
No. I'll make a motion to move it to the board. Second?
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 4. Bless you. Discuss resolution permitting standards for work performed in the state's right-of-way. So this is just seeking approval for a resolution bill for the years of 2020 to 21 with the Illinois Department of Transportation. The resolution will permit standards for work performed in the state right-of-way. This will allow Public Works to be able to work on water mains, sanitary sewers, street lighting, and repairs in the state right-of-ways in order to maintain assets and infrastructure. So basically, they're just looking for us to approve IDOT resolution for the years 2020 to 2021 and be moved to the village board agenda. Have any questions? Oh,
No.
I'll make a motion to move it to the board.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 5 is receive motor fuel tax documentation review. So this is basically just Our documentation review, number 55, covering the receipt and disbursement of villages' MFT funds from May 1st, 2015 through April 30th, 2019. The report's being presented to the village board to confirm that IDOT reviewed and approved that our funds have been utilized, documented, and dispersed properly. With approval from the board, this will now be filed as a permanent record. Attached bills, it's a summary of the MFT funding balance and disbursement breakdowns. So they're looking for us to approve the disbursements of the MFT funds by the village from May 1st, 2015 through December 17th, 2019. Brad, is there
Okay.
anything you want to add?
Yeah, it actually, in addition to the annual audit that the village conducts every year, the Department of Transportation also conducts an audit as to that because the MFT funds are restricted to their use to things related to roadway maintenance. And so, basically, they have completed their audit, and their report then needs to be submitted to the board, and so they want a document to acknowledge that it has been presented to the board and accepted.
Thank
So there's really no action required other than to present it to the board and accept it.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
One thing I would suggest,
And the numbers are good?
John is contact Mr. Quigley for a future reference that Kristen Therian is now the village clerk.
Yeah, I saw that. That was
That's
quite a few years.
that's that is a regular problem that we have
That's
with
all.
other agencies.
Sure.
Is delayed updates. I know my predecessor was dead for about 15 years, and I was still getting mail addressed to him.
No.
You know how you just don't retire, then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, Kevin? Any more questions? Make a motion to approve it, send it to the board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 6, change order post 7 contract. Kevin, I'll let you take that one. Go ahead, John.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you, sir. This request goes along with the current project we have in the area between Harlem and Oak Park Avenue, the lift station off of Harlem that pumps the sanitary sewer eastbound down 167th. If you go to the last page of your packet, you can see an overlay map that shows a section of pipe that's in green where the original straightaway of pipe was installed, and then with the development of that area, they did kind of a backshift bypass. Now that we're working through trying to line this old pipe, we found that the further north section, and again, if you reference the furthest north section of the pipe that makes a 90-degree going south, actually ends up being underneath a very large ornament patio, and for us to follow through with this process to line the pipe, we have to dig up each intersecting fitting. So at that 90, we would be required to dig up this family's patio. So it is our request for multiple purposes, not only to save us in the village exorbitant amounts of money to damage and replace the patio, but to remove the 90-degree at that location and bring it closer to the fence line and easement, and completely remove the U-turn that is created in those backyards. We are asking to allow us to put a change order in place for the amount of $140,251.65, along with the contracted project with the Visu Sewer and their subcontractor Aries. We did have this available in our current budget for the project, so it still allows us to, as of right now, have a surplus in the budget of 65 and some change for any other possible contingencies that may come underway.
Thanks, John.
No problem. Any questions?
Bill?
Only question is the actual
Hamina.
yeah no the actual patio.
Yes.
It how extensive is that?
So it's not as simple to see, but again, if you go to the furthest north section of the drawing there, you can see how much of the area of this backyard is patio. I mean, estimated right now, we just requested a landscaper to give us an idea of how much we would have to rebuild it, and we're in the 30,000 plus range. Because, I mean, it's got knee walls, it's pretty extensive of a patio. It's all pavers, again, the block walls, I believe at some point there's some lanterns at the corners of the walls, so again, it almost offsets the cost of just replacing the pipe in a different location. Another, advantage of it is not just, monetary, is the fact that if we reduce this 90, U-turn and create, the offset, it relieves some head pressure on the pumps for that lift station, so it also does serve multiple purposes.
Better alignment for that pipe to get the flow that we.
Yeah. If you look at,
So much back pressure on the first tank.
if you look at the second to last page, you can see the highlighted area in yellow. That's what we're proposing to put in line, versus, like I said, that essential U-turn.
Right, okay.
If you call Pat Ray, he could probably tell you when the pavers were put in.
Like I said, they rerouted that whole sewer when they built that subdivision, so the subdivision wasn't built exactly to the rerouting, so that's the issue we're having.
Yeah, the reroute is what was highlighted in red there, and then the green is the original alignment.
And how, a little further on that, when we're doing forced sanitary mains, it's not like a regular sanitary sewer, there's not manholes that we just shove a camera through.
Mhm.
You actually have to physically cut open the pipe to get the camera in, to get the exact location. It's not like a regular sewer system.
It's pressurized.
Okay.
It's pressurized, so it's something that you can't, just look at every year and see what's going on. It's a seal.
It's similar to a water main.
Okay.
So we'll remove most of the 90s, the bends.
Very good.
Any more questions?
Nope.
I'll make a motion to move it to the board.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 7, receive comments from the public. Officer King, anything? Nope, let the record reflect there are none. I'd like to make a motion at 7:07 to adjourn the Public Works Committee. All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Very good.
You're up.
Alrighty.
You going to the podium?
I'd like to open the Public Safety Committee meeting. Item number 2, I'd like to consider approval of the minutes of the Public Safety Committee meeting held on October 8th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Before we hit item number 3 real quick, I just want to wish Trustee Glotz a happy birthday. The number 50, right? So
Yeah, Bill, thanks.
appreciate you being here tonight. So before we go on, I think we'll move on to item number 3. Receive update on the radio fire alarm system transition.
Thanks, Trustee Brennan. In May of this year, we transitioned our wireless radio alarm program and integrated with Emergency 24. Our radio alarm program monitors all required fire alarms in the village. The integration with Emergency 24 was designed for them to resolve and take care of any non-emergent types of alarms so that our dispatch center could pay attention more to alarms that are true fire alarms and of that nature. We actually were able to get some data coming for 6 months between May and September from Emergency 24 on the activity of them monitoring our trouble alarms. That first number there of total trouble alarms received by them was over 73,000. What that is defined as is just any time a trouble alarm comes across their system, that gets logged in as one activity. Occupant notification, where personnel from Emergency 24 would contact our key holder or alarm holder and let them know that there was a trouble issue with their alarm. And then actual alarms going to our dispatch was at 181. So, how did this non-emergency alarm activity affect the fire department? Of the 181 trouble fire alarms that were transmitted to our dispatch center, the fire department was dispatched to 165 of them. When you compare the same activity back to 2018, it is significantly less, making our activity a little bit more effective and efficient. Significant events over the 6 months. We had at one point lost our primary means of transmitting, and our backup system immediately took over. So the good news is the backup system worked as designed until the primary means was put back in service. So we were very pleased with that working as we thought it would. For the next 6 months, we'll be focusing in on our vendor, which is Fox Valley and Emergency 24. It's really just to improve our communication, making sure that the data that we have is properly communicated and vice versa, making sure that that the alarms are properly dispatched, and just making sure our alarm holders are made abreast of what the activity is going on with Emergency 24 at our dispatch. So overall, pretty good results, and really kind of making our dispatch handle our alarms that are more important than the troubles. Do you have any questions?
No, it's pretty good. I recently had a interaction with Fox Valley, and they were great. They were called out, had a trouble alarm at a condo unit that I'm the president of the board on that, and they were really good. They were really responsive. There was an issue with the radio, I think, and came out and took care of it real quick. So, you know, I know it's been, Chief Reader, I think, was telling me it's been a kind of a burden lifted off a lot of the dispatch. So, I know this system's really kicking butt for the village. So, appreciate all you guys are doing on it. Thanks for the update.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Chief Reardon.
Thanks, Chief.
Mm-hmm.
Item number 4. Chief Reader.
You going to the podium?
Yeah, just so I can see the slides up here, so without breaking the neck there. All right, evening, just a real quick briefing on some administrative assignment changes that we're going to be implementing in 2020. Just in general, what we're just looking to do here is just to provide a modernized and more efficient division of labor within the fire department, namely for the assistant chiefs within the department. We worked out a series of new job descriptions, some different lines of responsibility, new performance indicators, and as we go into 2020, obviously it's going to be a work in progress as we go through. Help us identify some different support positions that we're going to need to have in place, from the captains and the lieutenants and the firefighters down, just to try to smooth out some of the efficiencies that I believe we have to have within the department. So just real quickly, just to kind of brief you on it now, what the reorganization would look like. And reorganization might be kind of a big term for what really is a reassignment of some administrative tasks. Operationally, we don't see anything change here. This is just more who's going to be doing some of the administrative day-to-day business end of the fire department operations. Still have the 2 deputy chiefs, suppression and fire prevention respectively, and then we'll have our 4 assistant chiefs recategorized in terms of different job responsibilities, operations dealing with what happens on the street, support services dealing with the support for the things that have to happen on the street, administrative services, as you'd probably guess, would be personnel and kind of the day-to-day paper side of things of what we have to do in some of the safety-related compliance tasks, and then professional standards, which again, to help us achieve some of the standard goals and accreditation issues and compliances and things like that we may want to look at, would help us start to do those things. So as it sits today, the regular organizational chart represents the 4 assistant chiefs in the current positions, and you'll still see those 4 positions as that moves forward into next year. And just breaking that out a little bit further with some of the other administrative positions that would support them as we go on. But just to highlight specifically where some of those areas are, operations in general would be responsible for fire suppression operations, including the scheduling of all on-duty personnel to man the 4 stations and any special events that we would have.
in charge of rescue operations, mutual aid, our 911 center liaison, and all of our communications, including some of the hardwire infrastructure, working directly with Public Works and the various vendors that deal with our mobile radios and the portable radios and that. And that through some of the work groups and that will empower committee work and some things. And again, much of this is already stuff that's already in place, just put into different lanes and different silos in the department. This division will have oversight of technical rescue, hazardous materials, our water rescue program, and operational quality assurance, where we take a look at how well we do with response times and reporting and those types of things moving forward. Support Services Division, their areas of responsibilities mainly will be fleet, buildings and grounds, equipment, and under them would be the working groups of the uniform and the quartermaster system, all of our protective clothing, including our bunker gear, our helmets and boots and those types of things. SCBA and the piles and piles and piles of service testing that has to be done to make sure all of our equipment is up to speed and the standards that we have to have in place. Third division is going to be administrative services, and that area of responsibility is going to be personnel. Our safety officer will reside in this area here and be responsible for the compliance areas of OSHA, Department of Labor, ISO, and also some member engagement where we have different areas of responsibilities assigned to each and every member of the department. And that through that, their oversight will be, again, further quality assurance on reports, OSHA, safety investigations, accident investigations, evaluations and performance management, and all of our hiring and promotional processes and that moving forward. And last but not least would be professional standards. And again, professional standards would encompass training, preparedness, and EMS would now fall under areas, that area of responsibility, dealing with our recertification and, CPR and different first responder initiatives and that we would like to have in place. And they'd have oversight of our Rescue Task Force program, working hand in hand with the police department and emergency management, Target Solutions, which is our data management system and our learning platform, our technology and research and development. So in general, that's what we're looking to do as that starts to roll out. We're going to be in a transition period here with the current positions, those who have to hand off work to other members of the administrative staff, kind of doing a little bit of training and working that out a little bit. And as that begins to be implemented in the first quarter of next year, we'll be working with some of the other officers of the department to get the support to the chiefs for those administrative tasks. So, again, as we said, ultimately the goal here is, to kind of revitalize and modernize some of the structure that's been in place for over 20 years now. And as time moves forward, it's my vision to have each of these assistant chiefs and the administrative divisions rotate positions approximately every 2 years in an effort to try to, teach everybody those different responsibilities. So we've got good succession planning throughout the organization, especially in my command staff roles and positions there. Okay?
Very good.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Yeah, I like that that you'll have them rotate, and I think that'll better round everyone out. I think that's a good idea, so.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item number 5, is that you, Pat, or is that Laura? Okay. Very good.
Item number 5 is just an amendment to the Emergency Telephone System Board Committee. This is just really kind of a cleanup that probably should have been done in 2017 when we changed the names of the committees. 3 trustees are part of that committee, and when we changed the name from Finance and Economic Development and Budget and Audit, we changed it to Finance Committee and to Administration and Legal, and it's just a cleanup in the amendment, so next time we have a meeting for the ETSB, we're all set and ready to go.
Good.
Thank you, Laura.
Very good. Does that need to be moved to the board?
We're going to send that to the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
I'll
make a
make-
motion.
All right, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 6, receive comments from the public.
Hi, I'm Len McHenry with Gas and Wash, and I didn't come here tonight to talk about fuel tax, but I saw it come up on the screen here, and I was very surprised. And it sounds like it's a 2020 item to be discussed, and I'm sure you guys will be discussing it, and some of us can jump in there too. The fuel tax to us is, makes things an uneven playing field. For example, it was already mentioned here that the retail price doesn't change because you're pricing with the competition. So when everybody's the same and your taxes are higher, where's that money coming from? It's coming out of the business directly. And Tinley Park on sales tax wise, Tinley Park to unincorporated Will County directly is we're about a 3-cent disadvantage already. So now to put on additional tax, it just goes that much higher to be at a disadvantage, because gas fuel is one item that everybody buys, and for whatever reason, we got to watch the price. They drive down the street. I can go down the street and get it for a penny less. To me, it drives me crazy because we're going to pay our bills, so we can't give it away, okay? But they'll drive down the street for a penny or two, and then come inside and buy a $20 lottery ticket, but they're happy because they saved 20, 30 cents on their fuel. But they watch it that close, and we are directly affected 100% out of our pocket. And when the fuel tax today on a gallon of gas is already above 75 cents, to add more to it, and with Will County talking about adding to it, I don't know if that's the way that you want to start looking at things. It would seem that there's other options that are even.
Good thing it didn't say fuzzy.
For everybody as the vehicle sticker was. And that's my comment for right now, but I think this is something that is a little bit more serious than just put it on, because nobody's going to really complain except the gas stations, and it's going to need a lot more review than just implementing it and letting it go, because it's going to really affect us. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Len. Are there any other comments from the public? There are none. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the Public Safety Committee meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. We are adjourned.